Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
And this is what, episode 14 or some junk?
Yes, that junk would be correct. Episode 14 of Season 2.
Okay. But who's counting what the other number is?
Well, now it sounds weird because you said and some junk, but for the record, it's episode 36 if you're counting.
Okay, thank you very much. See, I thought you were going to drop the ball there.
No, I didn't drop the ball. You're the one who dropped the ball by saying and some junk. You're not even being sure.
Oh, I'm not ever sure. You know I don't count.
Aren't we trying to be professionals here?
Well, not exactly. So what's going on, Josh?
What's going on with me? Not too much. You've got the news right now.
I do?
Yeah.
Well, we have, lots of news, but...
No, I'm talking about what just happened, 2 hours ago.
Probably a little more than 2 hours ago, but, this is freaking me out, kinda, but just kinda out of nowhere, Ralph Bakshi, okay, famed animator Ralph Bakshi, followed me on Twitter, and then just tweeted to his whole audience, "Nice job with this, Kaylin," and then linked to my video on just the one video I've done about him. Just the one. And my mind is blown. Because I wasn't even following him on Twitter first. I didn't even know he had a Twitter account. And, I just wasn't looking. And...
just found out his account existed.
Well, it's kind of funny. I have, almost 10 times the followers he does. That's really sad, actually. He should have quite a lot more than that.
Well, think of it this way. Since he's retweeting your video, isn't that going to get him more followers?
That very well might, yeah, and I retweeted his tweet at me.
So we're several tweets in here.
Yeah, and I tweeted back at him, and I thanked him for congratulating me on the video. I also asked him to correct me if I ever got any information wrong, because that would be very embarrassing.
That would be embarrassing. Especially
because I know he's watching. I recently also found out that I don't know if Don Bluth himself has seen my videos, but his animation studio has seen my videos, and they actually thought that it was cool, but they went ahead and said, yeah, there was some misinformation here and there, but overall it was pretty impressive, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so embarrassed.
Yeah, but at the same time, that legitimizes you.
I guess, There's just this point, right, where, cause I did reach out to Don Bluth's studios for an unrelated event, having nothing to do with my videos, and they decided to respond back saying, oh, by the way, we saw your stuff, and I'm just I'm not trying to have that conversation, I'm just being a person, I'm not grasping at the stars, I'm not trying to rub shoulders with anybody, but they decide they want to let me know that they're acknowledging me, and that blows my mind. You think these people are unattainable and untouchable, but that seems to not be the case at all. It really seems to not be the case.
Maybe one day that'll happen for other people. Maybe.
What, you mean like you?
I don't
know. But I hope everyone gets to have just a hint of that experience from time to time.
Because the best I can say about, I guess reaching up and being able to touch the stars is being snubbed by Tommy Lee Jones on 3 different occasions.
Did you get snubbed by Tommy Lee Jones on 3 different occasions?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, for some reason in different parts of my life it's been a recurring thing. Because he's actually somewhat native to San Antonio, he lives around here.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid...
Didn't he have a smart car?
I don't know, honestly.
I thought I heard that he once drove up, it was either to Central Market, or it was, because I once worked at a movie theater here in town, and he came in while I was working, and I heard somebody say, oh yeah, he came up in a smart car. It was either at my job, or it was somebody at Central Market at the time. Well,
bottom line, it's been 3 different times in my life. Once as a kid, when he was the Grand Marshal for the river parade that we have around here. He just kind of, looked past me as I was waving very inherently and waving my VHS copy of Men in Black, if that tells you how long ago that was.
So it was 1997.
About that, yeah. 98, 97, somewhere around there. Then later on, when I was in high school, he was a guest speaker at the library downtown, and me and my friend chased after him to,
Oh, well, no wonder he snubbed you. You chased after him.
Well, not so much chase, just hurriedly walked, because we wanted... we were big fans. And he kept walking, like... He's very notorious for not putting up with people's crap. People gushing over him. And then, other times, yeah, he's been around and snubbed other people, so...
Wasn't there that one time that you had a friend/co-worker who had a story about, like, serving him a sandwich, and so long as you had a normal conversation with him, he was fine?
Yes, I had a friend who worked at a deli where he frequented, and what happened was he would come in and, buy lunch meat there, and my friend knew who he was, but he wouldn't let on that he knew who he was. He just talked to him like a regular guy, and yeah, they were able to facilitate small conversations that way. Well, on one particular day, he was there, making sure he got his order taken care of, and this woman comes up to him and doesn't know any better about his demeanor. And what happens is, she comes up to him, "Oh, I'm such a big fan. Is there any way I could get an autograph from you?" And he just looks down on her, because apparently she was shorter, and just flat out tells her, "Do I look like a freaking writer to you?" And she was so dejected, and I think the story ends in her running off crying or something like that. But yeah, he's very notorious for that.
It was just kind of funny when I was in school in Japan. It was like a piece of home followed me to Japan, because that was the year he was doing all of those commercials.
Oh, Spaceman Jones?
Spaceman Jones for Boss Coffee.
Yeah.
And he just... If you've ever seen these Spaceman Jones Boss Coffee commercials, you see these really bland faces that he makes, And so I would be walking around, from the train station back to my dormitory, and I'd look up, and there's this really stone-cold Tommy Lee Jones face, and I'm like, yep, I'm home.
Brought a little piece of grumpy home with you.
Yeah. That really goes off topic. We went on with that a bit longer than
Alright, you know what, let's get to the show.
So we do have some news stories. Ironically, we chose these stories before the PS4's launch. I think had we thought about it for a second, we probably would have talked about the PS4's launch.
Well, I think we'll have a little bit more to say about that potentially in the next show after the PS4's been out for a bit, and then Xbox One will have been released
for a week,
too.
Yeah.
And then we'll do a recap on that.
But I'm going to be talking initially about Nintendo, who did their release videos that they do from time to time, but specifically, there's a big 3DS update that's going to be coming down the pipeline pretty shortly, so I'll be discussing what that is.
I'm going to be discussing the story that really, if you're on the internet, you can't not see it over the past 2 days, which is this heartwarming story of the hero now known as BatKid.
That kid is awesome. And finally, we're going to be wrapping it up with information about how you or anybody else could potentially see yourself getting casted in Star Wars Episode VII, because they're doing open casting calls.
And we'll be discussing
insane.
a bit more about what they're calling for and things like that.
Exactly. So, with that in mind, do we have any sort of follow-up?
Yes, we have a follow-up to the story we covered last week on the Marvel Netflix deal that they have to bring, these new series over there. And then end up with the Defenders miniseries. We have confirmation that we have 2 writers for 2 of the different shows. Drew Goddard, who helped work on Cabin in the Woods, will be hired on to write for Daredevil. And Cabin in the Woods was a very good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Worked directly with Joss Whedon on that.
That sounds hopeful, and with Joss Whedon having worked alongside him, considering Joss Whedon did Marvel movies recently.
Yeah, and he's kind of like what Chris Nolan has somewhat become to the DC movie universe. That's what Joss Whedon is to the Marvel universe. Like, if he's supervising, I'm fine.
Right. So I can see if they're getting information off of one another, it's a pretty nice, safe bet that it will be a universe that is relatively seamless.
Yeah, that makes me feel very hopeful. as opposed to the person who was hired to write for the Jessica Jones series. This series will be written... I'm sorry, where did I... By Melissa Rosenberg. Now, some of you might not be familiar with that name, but Melissa Rosenberg helped write the scripts for Twilight. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Well, if you really think about it, Marvel does want to get some of that sweet, sweet female viewership in there.
I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Twilight is such written that traditional women clamor for that material, specifically the movies too. I mean, the books were a phenomenon in themselves, and that was a completely different person writing it, but then you morph it into something for
a wider
audience for the sake of being presented on a screen. It's a far different sort of storytelling, and the movies are about this much, I'm squeezing my fingers really tight, this much more tolerable than the books, for that reason. So, I don't know, it'll be written with women in mind. I mean, that's cool, I guess.
I mean, to balance it out a little bit more, like, it says here, and I'm reading off Superhero Hype, she will also serve not only as writer, but also executive producer. So that's got a little clout with it.
Oh, okay. Alright, that's cool.
In opposition to Drew Goddard writing for Daredevil, having also, I'm reading here, having written for Cloverfield, Alias on ABC before, Lost, World War Z. Like, okay, that makes me feel a lot better. At least for Daredevil's sake. Now, if I'm reading this correctly, Daredevil looks to be the first series that they're going to be releasing, followed by Jessica Jones. And it's like, you know what, that's the smart deal. Go with the guy that some people are familiar with, as far as characters go, Daredevil. Let people get their feet wet with that, and then potentially risk losing some people, or bringing some people in with the arguably, possibly girly show.
You know what, I'll try it, okay? I'm not gonna completely...
No, we're not saying it's gonna be horrible, we're just saying we didn't like the last thing you worked on.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily think that's her fault.
Entirely,
you know, well, think about it. She didn't write the novels. She's just adapting them.
Yeah, there's that to it. So, I guess it's not necessarily counting your chickens before they're hatched. I'm just saying.
Just saying.
I'm not saying it. Super Saiyan? I'm not saying it was sparkly, but it was sparkly.
I guess that's about that.
Yeah, that'll cover it until we find out more about who's writing any of the other series.
Okay. That having been said, I'll go ahead and move on to my first article. I'm reading some of this information off Kotaku, although I did watch also the Nintendo Direct from this past week. In said Nintendo Direct, there was quite a lot of Reggie, as there always is,
The Reginator,
who decided he needed to once again remind everybody that he once said, "My body is ready." And, he himself didn't make this announcement, but of course this was a long half-hour video. Within that, it was also announced that there was going to be an update to the 3DS. I wanted to specifically talk about that, because there's a lot of games that they talked about coming out, and they were really hyping up, as they always do, but the system update seems pretty cool, specifically with one unified Nintendo account. This is what I'm most excited about, because this now means that funds for your Wii or your Wii U, I think specifically the Wii U, can now go back and forth and be also therefore used on your Nintendo 3DS, rather than having to spend some money on your 3DS and spend some money on your Wii U and then not being able to transfer your dollars back and forth between these two systems. I think the only cool thing about that perhaps we haven't yet heard, that I wish we could hear, is whether or not Nintendo ever plans to do anything about, well, what if you lose or break your 3DS? What are you gonna do about my digital downloaded games? Like, is there a way that perhaps this Nintendo account being linked to me. Perhaps I could sign in on it on another console and download it. Like, there's no word on that. But that is one very nifty, convenient thing, and I was wondering about it for a very long time. Past that, there's some other things that come with this update. For example, there will be a YouTube channel on your 3DS directly. You'll be able to watch YouTube channels in the top screen, and on the bottom screen you'll still be able to do browsing and commenting and still, like, do stuff while you're watching this video. So that's kind of nifty. And furthermore, I don't know if you're at all familiar with Wii U's Miiverse. We've gone over to some other friends' houses who have Wii U's. Neither one of us has a Wii U currently, but there's people's Miis walking around and conversing with one another and throwing out information and stuff about the games they've played and drawing and all kinds of stuff. And now the exact same thing is coming to the 3DS. So now our Miis can talk to each other and share information, and
But we still can't draw things.
well, no. We can draw things. It's almost like maybe that's how Swap Note progressed. Like, there's now no reason to have Swap Note if we now have the Wii U's Miiverse.
Do you really think that's going to make up for it?
Well, maybe not, because
I'm not buying it.
Because, again, like, your Mii is going to walk around and just show it to whoever, and it's not the same thing as being able to specify who you're sending your dick pics to.
Yeah, like, I'm saying, like, if I want to offend somebody or make somebody laugh, I have to make sure my Mii, my imaginary Mii, is walking around with just butts. You know, it just has butts hovering above its head, its big me head, and that way it'll offend whoever sees it. Like, hey, look, but like, it's not even a picture of a butt. It's not even a drawing of a butt.
Just the word butts.
Yeah, that's all it is. Just the word butts. And I'm gonna get denied that inalienable right to be able to write butts.
Well, yeah, they've already denied it. Like, Swap Note, like, sorry.
Like, let's break it down here. What did Nintendo think was gonna happen when they installed this thing? They thought only...
Well, it was the same thing as PictoChat back in the day for the
Exactly,
original 3DS.
exactly.
Like, now, granted, you couldn't do PictoChat unless you were in a room with other people nearby. You couldn't do PictoChat
Yeah, and what did you
over
did
the
when
internet.
what did you do when you were in a room with other people?
The first thing all my friends did, dick pics.
Every time.
Everyone drew a penis. Every time.
It's like marking your territory, pretty much. That's just the way it breaks down.
Well, now the drawings of penises just have a different venue in which they travel to get around to other people. That's the only difference now. Like, maybe there really isn't a need for Swap Note anymore.
I don't know. It's just, it was nice to have. And
I mean,
now,
it's not like Swap Note doesn't still exist.
It's not like those were the only pics that were being sent around. I've seen some pretty cool Swap Note art.
Yeah, I drew a pretty good Phoenix Wright once.
Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty good. But now we can't have that anymore. You're denying art, Nintendo.
Well, you can't do it via Spot Pass anymore. Like, that's the only difference.
They're censoring art. I'm angry.
Yeah, well, Nintendo is family friendly, Josh. You can't bend them to your will of wanting to draw dick pics and write the word butts.
Yeah, well, you know what? Families have dick pics too.
What families do you know?
I don't.
They, like,
I'm assuming
have these dick pics framed on their wall.
All right, I'm
like,
just gonna stop us right here.
Is this that weird family you were telling me about before?
No, that's a different family. That's a different family.
Did they have dick pics on their wall?
I would like to just stop us right here and say whoever bothers to go back over this show and count how many times we've said dick pics, we'll do something for you, because I think that this is the most we've ever said the word dick in one episode.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever said it in an episode before.
No, I don't think we have.
I usually try not to,
Yeah.
actually.
Point being, Nintendo, they're trying to update, trying to make things better, but really, like, I think about it that way. We've talked about it before, where Nintendo, as far as home consoles, portable consoles, small consoles go, they don't really have any competition other than, say, small Apple products.
No, that's the thing. Like, Nintendo themselves have specifically said that they're most concerned about competition out of, say, Apple. It's mobile gaming that is starting to come up and freak them out. They don't feel like they're in competition with Sony or Microsoft. They're in competition with Apple, and now perhaps Google and Android.
Somewhat, yeah. They're kind of getting into the game. Apple definitely is nipping at their heels.
Right.
With these updates, what can they possibly hope to put out to keep people interested in holding onto these consoles? Like, what's going to keep me as a basic and not quite fully involved consumer wanting to keep using their product?
Again, for me, I think they're moving in the right direction by having one unified Nintendo account for the use of digital download money balance. The next step I would like for them to take, again, would be, please allow me to move this virtual game from one console to another if something happens to my initial console. If there's just some sort of safety net or fallback sort of system in case that happens. You don't want something that just anybody can log in to any 3DS device and just download games from each other willy-nilly. You don't want that, so they gotta come up with some other kind of safeguard.
But at the same by that same token, like, I think back to a couple of years ago before Amazon started using this cloud service. Like, I downloaded songs primarily from Amazon. And then, when I had to get a new laptop, not all of my songs were in the cloud system. So I had to repurchase a couple of things when I lost that laptop.
Mm-hmm.
And that sucked. Other songs, though, thankfully about like 3/4 of my collection that I had downloaded from them, I was able to go back and say, hey, can I get this back? Sure, you had it in the cloud. And boom, it's back on my new computer.
Right.
The same thing should be said. If I bought Castlevania, I should be able to play Castlevania both on the Wii, or the Wii U, and on my 3DS. Because I already paid for it. I don't need to pay for it again.
Yeah,
I shouldn't
it's not
have
like
to.
the 3DS can't play Castlevania.
Yeah, but I think that's a very simple, not outrageous demand. Like, can I pay once for a thing and then not have to pay for it again?
That would be nice, yes.
If it's not broken, just give it to me. It's not hurting you. You don't have to ship me a cartridge. Just give me my game back.
Just give me your game. I'll give you your money. Just give me the game. I think I'm done.
I think you're done.
There's nothing more I can do with this. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
It's all over.
It's okay. I forgive you.
Okay, thank you. What are you talking about again? I don't even remember.
What am I talking about?
Yeah.
I'm talking about BatKid.
Oh, he's my favorite superhero.
He's everyone's favorite superhero by this point. Like, okay, if you... Pretty much by this point, if you've been living under a rock, have you not heard about BatKid? Like, I've seen him on all of my feeds. Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, Reddit, and I don't even go to Reddit. He's on there too. BatKid.
BatKid. Oh, such a heartwarming story.
It's... people throw around that term like, oh, here's a heartwarming story about, on your 6 o'clock news, oh, here's a heartwarming story of some
thing!
No, this right here, it's not just, oh, that's nice. No, this is, with all the bad we have in the world, we have this. So, we're going to go ahead and talk about it. We're going to recap it, for those of you who don't know, here's what's happened. So, basically what we're talking about here is the story of this kid named Miles. Miles is from North Carolina, and Miles, unfortunately, has leukemia. And he's been getting treatment for it, and, his parents, of course, worry about him.
I understand he's in remission, though.
Yes, thankfully, though, he is currently in remission.
That's great.
That is, very pleasing to hear. And, of course, before he was found to be in remission, they went ahead and signed him up for, Make-A-Wish. Of course, the company that gives kids or people with not so great prognoses the chance to live out a dream. before, you know, stuff gets any worse. And Miles's wish was simply to be Batman. You know, a very simple wish for a kid. That was my wish as a kid. You know, was to be Batman.
Yeah, what kid wouldn't want to be Batman?
Or some hero.
Yeah.
You know? And Make-A-Wish, you know, has a history of going, you know, above and beyond to give a kid their wish. You know, like, some people wish, alright, you know, random kid, Jimmy, what do you want? I want to go visit SeaWorld. Okay, and then they set it up for Jimmy to go watch the Shamu show. That's great. Like, little Tina, what do you want to do? I want to go to Disney World. Okay, we rented out the park for a day. Here's your picture with Mickey. And, you know, it's all well and good. And it was simple enough to give this kid what he wanted. It could have been as simple as, you know what, we'll give him a Batman costume and a cake, or even have a guy come in dressed as Batman, do a photo op, and that's it. You know, that's all she wrote.
You might have been able to get a celebrity, perhaps, to someone like Christian Bale, perhaps.
Yeah.
He's done stuff like that before.
Oh, absolutely he's done that.
You could have done something like that, and that would have been pretty easy.
But that's not what happened. The outpouring of support for this. The entire city of San Francisco found out about this kid's wish and got behind it. Like, try and rationalize what we're talking about here. An entire city full of people find out about this one kid's innocent wish, and they do everything within their power to make sure this kid has, by most accounts, kid or adult, the best day ever. So, if I'm reading this correctly, and this is off various news sources, an estimated 7,000 people were involved in this one wish.
Oh my god.
7,000 people, and most of them volunteers. People not actually working with Make-A-Wish. They were like, I found out you were trying to do something. How can I help? And they got in on it. And they set this thing up. They told him, okay, we've got something planned for you, Miles. Just sit tight. And citywide, they set up this giant, like, basically this dream come true for a kid, for anybody who wants to be a hero, experience that really you can't duplicate.
No, probably not. And anybody who tries to do it is going to have it thrown in their face like, oh, you're just ripping off BatKid. Like, you know, it was this Batmobile that, you know, doesn't look half bad for whatever, I don't know what model car that was. It looked kind of like a Charger. Is a Lamborghini?
Yes, donated and made. They were like, you know what? He wants to be Batman. Take my Lamborghini. Put decals on it. Put a little bat fin on it. Do it. They made sure from morning to midday, this kid dressed as Batman and with the help of somebody else also dressed in full-size, you know, Dark Knight gear, had the adventure of a lifetime. He went through the city and he defeated the Riddler. He saved a woman from a bomb strapped to her back. He defeated the Penguin. He was given the key to the city. He drove around in a friggin' Batmobile, which isn't that far off from the Batman iteration, and I'm actually okay with that. I had other complaints with the Batman, but let's not get hung up on that. Point being, this was on every media outlet that you can imagine. CNN, ABC, NBC, the internet, and you see people responding to this so positively.
Shoot, like he got response from the President of the United States!
The President decided to get on a social media he didn't have an account on, which is weird enough as it is. He got on Vine, and his first Vine in the history of President Obama vining was congratulating Miles for saving the city.
That's freaking amazing.
That kid gets to carry that with him for the rest of his life. Like, nothing can top that. Like, there's people wearing BatKid t-shirts. The city lined up to congratulate him when he was given the key to the city. Like, people, thousands of people. There are pictures of this. Go look it up. Thousands of people, hundreds of people, lining the streets to watch this kid live out his dream.
That kid, and he looked so happy, and you see the way he stands, too, in most of those pictures. Like, he's got his shoulders all wide, like, I'm big bad news coming into town, I'm gonna go get me the Riddler. And, like, $10 says that there will be an upcoming BatKid comic. I'm just saying.
I wouldn't deny it.
that is probably going to happen.
And if only to make matters worse, and I use that figuratively, his little brother put on a friggin' Robin costume. And it's adorable. I don't say that much on this show, but this is just sweet. You know? Like, forget Bat Dad. This is Bat Kid. This is the time of Bat Kid. Like, you see him there in these pictures. He very much is living out what any kid would normally do. He believes he's Batman. Even if he's standing next to the guy in the full-on Batman suit. He's got his own full-on Batman suit.
Yeah, look at this stance in this picture that we're looking at right here. There's his shoulders kind of wide, and you can see the way he's running. He's, like, hulking...
No, he's running like he's got a camera on him, and he believes he's Batman. I did the same thing when I wore my Batman costume, like, 2 years ago. Because when you wear that costume, something makes you want to run like that. You know, like the beginning of the show, like, and you're running towards the camera. And just the amount of effort that went into this. Look at the design of this box. This looks like something you would see at a stage show at Six Flags.
This bomb here? This
yes.
Fake strapped-on bomb?
Yes, this woman tied to the cable car tracks that he had to save. And she's selling it. You see the pictures of him saving her, and she's like, oh, thank God, thank you so much, BatKid. And they got a full-on Riddler.
And that's a freaking good Riddler costume.
Like, can we talk about that for a second? This Riddler is probably the best Riddler I've seen in a couple of years. Mm-hmm. Like, I've seen Steampunk Riddler, I've seen 1966 Riddler.
I've seen Riddler who suddenly came out in a mini skirt and purple fishnet hose and high hoish heeled shoes. That was kind of weird. This guy right here, wow, just wow. What was that Vine that was playing? It was him. Was he like?
That's him getting arrested.
Oh yeah.
And they're selling it. It's not like, oh hey, I'm the Riddler. I got caught. No, like people played into it. Like this woman's like, oh help me, BatKid.
So like they also enlisted like the authorities.
Like yes, the San Francisco Police Department got in on it. They had their chief of police act like Commissioner Gordon for this kid. That is amazing. And you look at the like. The Riddler takes this Lee Harvey Oswald photo here of him getting taken into the precinct.
Yeah, that sort of...
that sells it even more. And then the Penguin shows up. And the Penguin kidnaps the San Francisco Giants mascot, Lou the Seal.
Well, a seal's not a penguin. Come on, it had it coming.
Well, either way, he saved Lou the Seal. He saved him from this little get-up at the ballpark, and they arrested the Penguin.
He got everything he could have ever wanted.
Like, what more can you ask for? When I'm reading here, what happened when they gave him the key to the city at the end of the day and everybody's cheering for him? What does he say? I'm Batman. Nobody's denying that. This kid is Batman.
This BatKid is Batman.
This BatKid will grow up to be Batman. Like, think about what this does for this kid. Like, hopefully, you know, God willing, this kid goes on to live a happy, full life. Mm-hmm. What will this say for the rest of his life? Like, how can this kid ever be down later on in life? Like, you know, man, this test here sucks. Wait a minute.
But I'm Batman.
But I'm Batman, yeah. Like, this is the biggest ego boost one could ever have to live the life of a superhero. And to top it all off, he's got both his parents. And they love him and they support him and they are so happy.
And he's got a sibling.
And he's got a sibling. Like he's got the life Batman wishes he had. Like, understand, this kid, really, this whole experience, when you really break it down, this is why we need heroes. This is why we need the media that we all, as nerds, soak up on a daily basis so we can have something like this happen and we can all rally behind it. We can get behind a kid who's admittedly going through some of the hardest stuff a person could ever have to go through, a debilitating sickness.
And he doesn't even understand. He can't know or understand just how bad it really is. He just knows he likes Batman.
And yet there's this slew of people who, when they find out about it, they're like, you know what? This kid wants to be a hero, let's make him a hero. Let's give him the hero. And as such, other people have a chance to believe in heroes. Because,
and those other people are heroes for making this kid's dream come true.
Like, for what it's worth, the guys playing the Riddler and the Penguin, even though they're the villains, they're heroes.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally see where you're coming from by presenting it that way.
Because they gave this kid something that nobody could ever take away from him. This is the real deal right here. This is the hope. This is the hero that we deserve and that we want. And
that we need all the time.
Yeah. Because, when we're talking, like, week after week about, we have to tread lightly around this nerd subject because such and such thing happened, like the Aurora shooting, it's hard to have to talk about that stuff, and, that dampens the fun people were supposed to have. Well, now here's another positive spin on something Batman-related.
Yeah, because it's not, much like we can say about video games, and we've had the discussion about video games, it's not the media that makes people go bad. Because quite plainly, we see people doing good things with this piece of media.
And this is exactly that point right there.
It's exactly that point, because it's bad people who were gonna do bad things no matter what. It was just a matter of the outlet in which they did it. But this obviously shows that people are just as capable of doing amazingly good things with equally as, the exact same material.
Well, yes, taking that same material and with that same fervor you could use for evil, you turn it around and use it for something good and positive and make it worthwhile to see somebody walking around in a cape and a mask, inspiring people. Like, I wish we had more stories like this to report on, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because this is the kind of stuff I wouldn't... Like, I never would have thought as a kid growing up that something like this could happen. That somebody could have the chance to be a hero and inspire others. Like, this kid himself will be an inspiration, not just because he's beating leukemia right now, but on top of that, because... Well, not even on top of that, because really that's the more important thing that
that's the tops, unfortunately.
Let's get that straight. We're more happy that he's getting healthy. But along with that, he's got this. He's got the cape and cowl.
Do you think that perhaps puts a burden on his shoulders for later on in life, though? Like,
I would hope not. I really would hope not.
Like, what if he kind of grows out of this Batman thing, and then... I don't expect that to happen, by the way, because a kid will usually hold on to that and think, man, these were sure good times when I was innocent and I was really just loving Batman, and that's it.
Well,
but if people expect him to grow up into a certain kind of person or a certain kind of character because this all happened...
Like, what if this is the best thing that ever happened to him, and he was only 8?
Was he only 8?
No, he's 8, yeah.
He actually looks younger than 8. But then again, I don't know child age very well anymore when I just look at a kid, so...
Well, no, if anything, I would hope that this would inspire him to go on to bigger and better things. Because, if he could be Batman, what can't he do? You know?
Yeah, I get that.
And I would hope that that's... I guess I would say for his folks, that would be the thing I'd want to instill with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, no matter how bad things get, remember... basically remember who you are, or who you were for a day.
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. And see, like, people complain when they're older, like, oh man, I'm home for the holidays, and my parents are bringing out this... this annoying video of me when I was 6, and I had a pot on my head and I was banging it with a ladle.
Who will ever complain about this, though? And on top of that, who's going to let him forget, too? Because look at all the media. And again, the president. I mean,
the president.
Come on, nobody's going to be like, hey, didn't the president say something about you being BatKid or saving the city or something like that?
I'll put it in context. When I was in elementary school... I did very well in my class, and a lot of kids in my class got written letters of congratulation from the president at the time, which was Bill Clinton. But it's one of those things, like, he probably signed it and didn't really know what he was signing. He's like, now what am I doing this for? Okay, great. And then, we get it as a kid, and we feel a little happy that the president signed something for us. But it's very somewhat impersonal that way. Here, directly, no, the president said your name on... the internet. Everybody saw it. If they haven't seen it, they will by Monday.
Probably, yes.
Like, it's a weird way of saying it. You'll never be able to play that down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got the president's attention at 8.
At the same time, like, I just wonder, I picture this opposite sort of thing happening where one day he grows up and they're like, hey, weren't you the Bat? Yes! Yes, I was the BatKid! Okay, can we just leave it alone, please?
Yeah, I can see that happening too, but at the same time, I would own it. If it was me, I would totally own it. Like,
yeah, but you look at that through an adult's eyes, though.
Yeah.
And from the eyes of somebody who wishes that could have happened to you as a kid. You know, that's...
Admittedly so.
There's about a 20-year age gap in which...
Yeah, there's exactly a 20-year age gap.
Between this kid and you, and he could do a lot of other things in the next 20 years. You don't know. I mean...
I hope he does.
Well, yeah, I hope he does too.
But it's the important thing that so many people responded to this, wanted to be a part of it, and you know what, it admittedly, when I was going over this story yesterday and compiling all the notes for this, I'm not gonna lie, I got a little misty. It makes me happy that, you know, something that I believe in so much, you know, the power of the Batman, is enough to inspire so many people to want to be better people. You know, you want to bring something into this world that's good. You don't want to bring something in that's going to hurt people. You know, when you create something like that, I think if he had the chance, Bob Kane would look on this day and he would smile. And see, look what your character that you created did.
Yeah, that is an interesting way to look at it. I bet you're right.
Because I don't think anybody's said that necessarily yet, but I fully believe if Bob Kane had the chance to look, he'd be absolutely floored with how happy his creation made somebody.
Yeah, I would agree too.
So, yes, congratulations to BatKid, your legend will live on.
I look forward to your upcoming comic. I swear it's going to happen.
Yes.
It has to.
The only thing short of, you know, having a complete day is whether or not he got a call from Kevin Conroy saying good job in the Batman voice. Oh, who am I kidding? Kevin Conroy's voice is Batman by this point. But either way, congratulations, Miles. Rock on.
Alright. So, that having been said, I guess we got one more topic we want to cover for the evening.
We talk about someone else becoming a hero. You have a chance to become potentially a hero.
Oh, maybe. I mean, we don't necessarily know what these roles are.
That is not a guarantee.
Okay, so, earlier this past week or so, there were some...
Over the last 2 weeks, really.
Yeah, there were some big old rumors about Disney having this big old open casting call for a lead male and female role in an upcoming blockbuster Disney movie.
They wouldn't say what.
But everyone was like, come on, it's Star Wars, right? Like, it's friggin' Star Wars.
No, it's not. It's not Star Wars. We're reading for 2 characters called Rachel and Thomas, and it's for this big, big movie.
But all the news media outlets were like, it's Star Wars.
It's a big movie.
Well, eventually Lucasfilm was like, okay, yeah, it's Star Wars. And so...
I freaking knew it! I knew it!
So, if you go to opencastingcall2013.com, you can see this for yourself. Where it says, worldwide search for 2 major roles in Star Wars. And this is specifically for Star Wars Episode VII, and I'm sure it will probably carry on to 8 and 9 as well. This is...
Potentially, yes.
I would say very highly likely. There's these 2 characters, male and female, as you said, Rachel and Thomas. I'm going to go ahead and describe these characters to you. Rachel is a character who's supposed to be around 17 or 18 years old. She was quite young when she lost her parents, forced to make her way alone in a tough, dangerous town. Now she's street smart and strong, able to take care of herself. She uses humor and guts to get by. She's always a survivor, never a victim. Moves away from her harsh experience to a better life, she hopes. Always thinking of what she can do to move ahead. Thomas, on the other hand, is a little bit older. The character can be somewhere between the ages of 19 and 23. That doesn't mean you have to be within those ages. You just gotta look at handsome and smart and athletic. No father's influence. He doesn't have the strongest sense of himself, but he's smart and capable, shows courage, can appreciate the absurdities in life, understands you can't take life too seriously. So, you can apply in one of two ways, if not both. You can either submit a video of yourself reading this very small selection of lines, submit it to them before December 3rd, or there's a couple towns left on the tour list, and they've already gone through at least 3 of them. The ones left, and this might be a little too late for some of you guys, because this is going up on the 16th, if I can help it. But tomorrow, the 17th, in Troy, Michigan, there will be a meet and greet with the casting director. Also, November 22nd in Austin, there's a meet and greet. And on the 24th in Nashville, Tennessee, there's a meet and greet with the director.
So potentially, if you guys have the time and have the capability, you could potentially go out to these areas and try.
Yeah, this casting director, let me look up her name again if I can. She did casting for pretty much every major blockbuster you can imagine within the last 5-ish years.
I think specifically you mentioned casting for Captain America the Winter Soldier, this last Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
Yeah.
I forget, you had just told me the list earlier. But yes, basically, if you saw a major movie within the last couple of years, Star Trek Into Darkness, that was one. Mm-hmm. Basically, if you saw a major movie in the last year or two, she casted for it.
Yeah, so she would be the person you would be meeting face to face. And it's really interesting, they went to Chicago, they went to, I forget what other cities they already went through, because every time they go to a city, they actually remove that city from their website, so as no one gets confused. But they just got done in Chicago, and I found it really interesting. They actually did not take this casting tour through either California or New York.
Yeah, I found that a little odd.
This says to me that they really do want to get basically a nobody. Basically, somebody with a brand new, fresh, clean slate, and they don't have to worry about anyone having any preconceived notions about their acting capabilities, perhaps. These scripts that they give out on the website, they really don't give you much to go on.
Yeah, the casting slides, you pretty much take a look at them and they're like a handful of lines.
Yeah, there are a handful of lines that tell you almost nothing about this character that you're playing. All you have to go on are these really few lines and these little blurbs that you've read about on this website, and that's, it. And so that leads me to believe that, well, you either got it or you don't. They, look at you and they know.
Well, that is the nature of casting.
And, in fact, from what I understand, that's exactly how Mark Hamill was picked up initially for the original Star Wars movie in 1977. They took him and they were like, it's this guy. It's this guy right here. He hadn't done hardly anything prior to that. He was basically a nobody and launched his career.
Yeah, now, admittedly, with these two characters, we can't say one way or the other, since they're only giving us very normal-sounding names who these characters could potentially be.
Now, granted, there are characters in the universe like Luke and Ben. And Owen. These are very normal names, so who's really to say? They could change. They could morph into something.
I would argue that these are just cover names. Now, really, as to who they are, though, we can't tell. Are they Han and Leia's kids? Are they Luke's kids?
Well, no, we know who their kids are already, thanks to the expanded universe.
No, I'm saying, is that who they're casting for? That's what I'm asking.
I'm saying no, because, neither one of these characters has a father, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for a fact that with Luke, with Leia and Han, they're involved in their children's lives
very heavily.
So these are not their descendants. They're not.
So then the argument then would be that perhaps these are original characters that they're creating.
Well, in fact, I'm pretty
movies.
sure that's what I had heard from a previous news article, was that they were not creating something out of, like an expanded universe novel or something. They're not basing it off a novel that already exists or anything. This is a new original story. It probably does take place within the constraints of the expanded universe so as not to overwrite the expanded universe.
Well, I would hope not.
Well, yeah, because it's considered canon by LucasArts. It really is. They push the heck out of their own expanded universe. So, I would highly doubt that they would do anything to overwrite that. I do think, however, it will be a point in time where perhaps one of these characters is, say, in Luke's new Jedi Academy, or something of that nature. I don't know whether or not either one of these characters becomes a Jedi. They very well may not. Neither one of them may be a Jedi at this moment in time. After all, Luke in the first movie didn't become a Jedi. He was just starting to kind of feel out the Force.
Well, if there's one thing we can somewhat tell, they're not playing villains. They're not casting villains here.
No. You know, although it was funny, I was watching a news article, a news story from one of these casting calls, and they said that one person who has been to a previous casting call such as this, while they were casting for like lead characters in, I forget which movie, I think it was one of the Marvel movies, one of the previous Marvel movies, they ended up calling him back as an extra. So while they're casting for leads, you never know, they might need you for something else.
Yes, that is very true.
Even though they're not really saying as such, but
right.
But they might like something in you anyway. You never know. And this woman who's casted for like everything.
Now,
like,
thus far, I think one of the cities recently was, you said Chicago?
Yes.
How many people showed up for the Chicago?
Over 1,000.
Over 1,000 people. So that's...
and every single one of these, the last 3 cities that I did research on, people were lining up hours ahead of time. They're all in hotels. They're all taking place in hotels, and the lines go outside around the building.
Oh, I would imagine they would. Now, I think you mentioned earlier something very interesting about this one coming up, I believe it's at the end of the week in Austin, is that there's actually another Star Wars event going on there in Austin?
Specifically, it's one for the Old Republic, and it's a community event taking place several miles up the road, but it happens actually at the same time as the casting event is ending, and it's a cantina tour. It's a Star Wars cantina tour, and they all hang out in this pub with one another.
And it's done up like the cantina from Episode 4.
I'm assuming so. It's mostly people for the community who play Star Wars The Old Republic, and they can go and shoot the breeze about Star Wars and maybe be in costume or whatever. So Austin is going to be a little swamped with Star Wars people on that day.
Now, admittedly, from the pictures you showed me, there actually weren't that many people in costume, which is not to say there weren't people in costume.
No, there was still the bearded man Leia. I mean, that existed.
And the stormtroopers.
And the slightly chunky stormtroopers.
I think I saw like one Wookiee.
Yeah, and a Wookiee. I mean, they're gonna be there. So this is a dream for either anyone who wants to say they were in Star Wars because you're just that big of a Star Wars fan, or anybody who just wants the opportunity to act. It's an opportunity that doesn't just stroll up to your door very frequently, and there's
it sure doesn't.
And there's like a select 6 cities in the United States that got that opportunity, and about the same amount in the UK too. The UK is having a very similar tour at this exact same time.
Right, so all things considered, you're dealing with about 10,000, give or take, other people that you've got to go up against.
Oh, and that's not even counting the people submitting video,
right?
Because they can't.
I'm
get
just talking
to
about
city.
in person. That's about, give or take, 10,000 people.
How does this woman cast like that with all these people she's got to look at? She's got to be a pro. I mean, that's why she's in the business.
Yes. That having been said, I guess it's fair enough to say, yeah, if you're going out for this, may the force be with you.
I guess you're right. And I guess that's all we can really talk about at this given moment in time. Do want to go ahead and wrap up with being brought to you once again. I keep meaning to bring this up at the top of the hour, and I never do. Want to remind you guys that we are in fact brought to you by the Southwest Animation and Gaming Expo. You can find us at swagexpo.com. Going to be starting in January 2015. You can still pre-register, and I'm still waiting to be given the order to tell you who else we're expecting to have, because I'm excited.
Oh, yeah.
I can't tell you. It's making me real mad.
No, I understand. We will let that out of the bag as soon as we get the go-ahead.
Alright.
But in the meantime, yes, you can follow us both on Twitter. I'm at Josh Knight First.
And I'm at MarsGirlProd. And I guess that wraps it up for this week's episode of Beyond the Black Rims.
So thank you guys for coming out, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.